Hey everyone, welcome back. So this is going to be a response video. I am way behind on these videos, so apologies to Darren over at Real Talk Yorkshire, my good friend Darren. Yeah, he did like an open tag video, and a few people have taken part in this. I've seen videos for quite a few people, and I really wanted to do it. I just haven't had the spare time to get it done. But I finally got a few spare minutes. I'm going to just quickly go through these questions. So Darren, if you don't know, did a 7 questions for collectors and movie lovers when he first launched his channel. And he then has recently, more recently, done a part 2 to it, basically, so 7 more questions. So I've got the questions down here on my laptop. I'm going to read these through and then talk you through my answers. And yeah, we'll go from there. So that's the idea of the video. Let's go. Okay, so question 1 from Darren is, a film that features extreme temperature. Okay, so the first one that comes to mind for me on this one, I'm going to do basically, for most of these, I'm going to have like 2 films that got very close to being the pick. So you've got a couple of options to choose from. The first thing that came to my mind is probably this horror movie, which is, everyone has to say, you know, not the Disney version when they lift this one up. So that's Frozen. So obviously this one here is where you've got these group of youngsters on this ski lift, which gets like shut down. They're hanging above this frozen ground, and yeah, as far as anyone else is concerned, the ride shut down for the day, or the ski lift shut down for the day, and these kids basically just snuck on at the last minute, and no one knows they're up there. So they're left stranded, hanging high up above this big pile of snow, and underneath you've got like the wolves and things kind of circling, and they're literally freezing to death up at the top of this ski lift. So if you haven't seen that one, I'd highly recommend that one. But I think, to be honest, between these 2, I might have to just about pip it with this one, which will be a big popcorn disaster movie. So if you know me, I like my popcorn movies. Yeah, Day After Tomorrow, so Jake Gyllenhaal in this one, where obviously you just get, everything gets frozen over. It's just, at the time, I remember looking at this, it was a spectacle, like just to watch everything get frozen in ice and all the water coming through New York. I'm pretty sure it was set. Haven't seen it in a long time. Los Angeles, so yeah, tidal wave engulfs New York. But yeah, to see all this sort of like ice come over and just sort of like freeze everything that you'd normally see in movies, yeah, just a big popcorn spectacle. So probably gonna have to choose this one just about over those 2. So The Day After Tomorrow. So question 2 is going to be the first film that scared or shocked you. Now, I'm pretty sure no one else will have this on the list, and I'm gonna say this is so if you're gonna go with the kind of point of the question, so the first one you remember scaring or shocking you, so this is the first film I remember actually having nightmares about, and it's a U certificate, so like a suitable for all certificate film. It's an animated movie as well, but maybe someone out there will relate to this. It is the BFG, so Roald Dahl's animated BFG. So I used to watch this so much when I was a kid, and I can tell you why I used to have nightmares. So these giants on the back, yeah, they used to creep the hell out of me. I mean, I loved it. I was, you know, it was a weird thing where it's probably what's led, like that's probably what's led to most of the horror films on the shelves behind me. My love of horror when I was a really youngster. But yeah, when these giants used to, because you think that BFG is quite big and obviously he's friendly, and then when you see these even bigger giants like trying to squeeze into his like house where he lives through that little kind of like doorway, which is huge as itself, and you think, oh Christ, he's the small giant, and then you see these bigger ones, and there's a bit, if you know this film well, there's a bit where the big mean giants are all sleeping. And they've all got these great names, obviously from the Roald Dahl book. But yeah, they're sleeping, and they basically think the army are coming in to try and round them up. And that scene, I remember just being like so tense as a kid watching that scene, like hoping that they didn't wake up and get rumbled before they managed to sort of secure them all and tie them all down. But yeah, I used to have like nightmares about these giants coming out and getting me. So that's going to be my one, probably an unusual choice for the answer of first movie that sort of scared you, really. So yeah, BFG. Okay, so this one's going to have, again, two answers, I suppose, but I'll try and pick one the last second of here. So this is going to be, third question is an amazing performance by a child actor. So there's been loads of performances, obviously, by child actors. But again, I'm trying to go with just like my instincts. As soon as I think of one, try not to think too much into it. First one I kind of come to my mind was probably Poltergeist. So you obviously got the young girl in there, you know, the classic They're Here. Yeah, creepy as hell, so she was really good in that one. So yeah, that was one of the options I kind of thought of straight away. Really enjoy these Poltergeist films. Yeah, really, really good. But I think the one I'm going to go with, and I know this has probably been picked at least once or twice before by someone else, it's probably going to be Andy from Child's Play. So yeah, just this kid. And so I had Andy on the back there. So I don't, whether you'd say is the best acting in the world, I couldn't tell you, to be honest, but it's probably the film itself I've rewatched more than Poltergeist, and I've enjoyed possibly more. So yeah, I'm going to go with that one. I'm going to go with Andy from Child's Play. Okay, so the next question, question 4, is going to be a film based on true crime. So this one, I know Darren was sort of trying to make a bit of a point that, you know, based on an actual true crime, as opposed to something that's sort of like very loosely based, you know, where the Texas Chainsaw Massacre didn't actually have a Texas Chainsaw Massacre at all. It was just all based on something that had been watered down or changed. So I'm hoping, I've got these two films here, I'm pretty sure both of these follow fairly closely to the true crimes. And again, I'm gonna start with the one that almost got there for me, and then my last sort of like second change of mind, I suppose, or like, yeah, it's my last second change of mind. I'm gonna go with the other one. So this is the one that almost made it. This is a film called Bully. So this is is it Larry Clark? I forget the guy's name. Yeah, Larry Clark film. So Larry Clark film who follows this group of kids who are basically, they decide to take revenge on this bully, is the simplest way I can put it. So yeah, which obviously leads to a crime. I really enjoy this film for what it is, that type of film. I quite like these like teenage drama type movies that are quite gritty and like dark. So yeah, that was a close call for me on that one. But this one, I've sort of mentioned this story before when I picked this one up not that long ago. I had this one on DVD way back in the day and watched it, and I don't think I was the age to either really understand it or appreciate it at all. However, since, you know, maturing to some extent, I basically watched this with new eyes, and it hit me really hard, and I thought this is probably the one I'm going to have to go with. So this is Hilary Swank in Boys Don't Cry. So yeah, I think when I watched it as a teenager or like a pre-teen, I didn't quite grasp the importance of this film, or like really the reality of what was happening in the film. But watching it now as an adult, yeah, it really hits home. So this one is this basically Hilary Swank, but it basically dresses as a guy and pretends that she's a guy. So you know, it's very early on in the 90s, I think it is, all based on obviously the true story, and that's how she wants to live her life. But then she gets sort of abandoned / bullied out of the town she's in from various things that happen. People aren't fond of that kind of, you know, situation back then, especially, and finds herself kind of like almost out on the run. Bumps into these other group of people who are completely unawares, so she actually dresses herself and carries herself off as a young guy. No one really questions it, she doesn't really bring it up, and sort of works her way into this friend group. And obviously towards the end, it's revealed, you know, what the situation is with her. So that leads to the true crime, sadly. So yeah, that one I'm going to pick for my answer for a film based on a true crime. So yeah, Boys Don't Cry. Now this one here is, again, this one here probably is my first choice. So the question here is a film featuring a car chase. So the first one that came to mind, probably because maybe the one I've watched the most recently from that question, is Baby Driver. So obviously that one there is known for its music to car chase and editing kind of ratio there being pretty high. So yeah, obviously I really enjoyed that one. The start of the movie where you kind of like, they're ready to go from this sort of like big getaway car, basically. He's in there, he's got his music going, and you expect him to fly off, and all of a sudden they're shooting backwards and doing all these crazy stunts and like maneuvers around these cars and things down alleyways. So that was high up on my list. But if I'm really being honest, I think based on my age and based on what I saw, how many times I saw it, how much I enjoyed it back then when it hit me, at the right time. I'm going to have to go for a remake, which I must admit I haven't seen in the longest time to rewatch it, but I remember watching it loads on DVD when it first came out. And that's got to be a Nick Cage movie, which is Gone in 60 Seconds. So yeah, is it Lucille or something like that? Or there's I know he names the cars, and I always love the bit where he it's in the trailer. If you haven't seen the trailer, go watch the trailer. I love the bit where he's just shaking his fingers, both his fingers, he's just shaking them backwards and forwards, and nodding his head slightly, and then they can move on with whatever they're doing. This is in a double pack with Connor, so it comes out of a box set. But yeah, Gone in 6 Seconds is the one I'm picking there. So yeah, I just remember early 2000s, late 90s, that's where I kind of hit the movies hard, had a small collection, or smaller collection than what I've got here in DVDs, so you were watching those things more and more because you had sort of a smaller range to go from. Angelina Jolie in here, Robert Duvall, Vinnie Jones, obviously Nick Cage. Yeah, it was just that time period, big action, kind of blockbustery type thing, lots of nice shiny cars. I'm not a car guy, so I couldn't tell you which ones they were. But yeah, it's so much nostalgia based in this film for me. I had to pick Gone in 60 Seconds. So yeah, that's the one I'm choosing for that. Okay, so the next question this is number 6, I think it is. So penultimate question, 3 favourite directors still alive. So this one I kind of had to, this was one of the most troublesome ones for me, I think, to think of, because I could name 3 directors quite easily that are still alive that I enjoy, but there's always that thing with directors, no matter how big the name is, there's always pretty much films in their filmography for me that I really don't enjoy, and I probably wouldn't own or go back to quite often, even if they've got some of my favourite films of all time released. So I wanted to try and pick 3 directors that, how I wanted to think about it was if I saw a film come out with their name attached to it tomorrow, would I make an effort and purpose to make sure I definitely saw that film? So that's how I went with this question, because I thought of the obvious things like Steven Spielberg, and I thought of Ridley Scott, and I looked at people like Ridley Scott, and I looked over his filmography and realised that I probably haven't seen the last 3 or 4 of his movies. I just haven't made the effort to go watch them. I probably will at some point. They just haven't got that kind of urgency behind them. So I wanted to pick 3 that I think at the current moment in time with me, I would go back and, well, if they released a film, I would literally jump on that film as soon as I could, based on my current mindset and their filmography, basically. So that's not to say that these directors don't have films they don't enjoy. As everyone, there's better ones and there's worse ones. But I was kicking off with Ty West. So Ty West, obviously, he has done X, Maxine and Pearl. I'll be honest, I wasn't massive on Maxine and Pearl. I've said this before. I do really, really enjoy X. I think that's the best one of the 3 for me, but I do want to rewatch the other 2. I even really he did Cabin Fever 2, which he's disowned himself, because I've mentioned this again before in the videos. He wasn't a fan of how that got meddled with in the production kind of side of things. But even that, I kind of like the gory kind of fun from the early 2000s period again, so I kind of enjoy that part of it. He's done The House of the Devil, I think it was called, which really was one of the first ones that threw me onto him, because I was watching that film, and again, I've said this many times, but watching this, and I thought I genuinely missed a film from that time period of the late 70s, early 80s when it was set. I didn't realise it was made quite in modern times. He's done other things as well. So basically, a lot of his films, most of his films, have interested me or intrigued me at some point, at some level. And I've enjoyed a lot of them. I haven't enjoyed all of them, but if he did something tomorrow, I would still check it out, like I have with Maxine and Pearl. Even though I wasn't a fan of one of them, I still checked out the other one. So yeah, that's my first pick. Second pick is going to have to be Frank Darabont. So yeah, this guy, obviously, Shawshank Redemption. I mean, he may not be working now, I'm not sure, but quick look on his IMDb. He's got some big hitters in there, right? So I would say I love those films he's done, and even the one that I always try and shout about, which is a TV movie he did. I still really enjoyed that one. So if I heard that he was putting out a movie next week, I would make sure I'd try and go and see it, because I think out of all of the directors, he's probably the one that hasn't. I've not really been let down by in anything I've seen by him so far. So yeah, maybe my strongest contender would be Frank Darabont. Yep. So, and the last person on here, I know he's getting a bit of a, not the most popular guy in the world right now, but he's going through that stage like everyone seems to in Hollywood. But I got to be honest, Quentin Tarantino. I grew up on his films, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction. Again, Jackie Brown, I appreciate it. I just didn't enjoy it as much as the other two I just mentioned. And even one of his latest ones, is it Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? One with Brad Pitt. I went into that wanting to absolutely love it, and this is a good example. So this is the one where I saw his name on it, and instantly I didn't care what it was about. I just wanted to go see it. So I saw it, and when I came out of it, I just didn't know what to think. I was just so like, it was so average for me. But I know a lot of people love that film, and again, I will go back to it. But if he put a new film out next week, I'd be there. I'd go see it. So they're my three directors. You've got Ty West, Frank Darabont, and Quentin Tarantino. Okay, and the last question on here, which probably is the most fun question for me actually, is a film you like that scores under 5 on IMDb. Now, a lot of collectors and people that have done the video, I'm sure, probably would have struggled a little bit with this in their collections. Sadly for me, or maybe good for me, my collection, I had a little look on my database, and I can search by IMDb score and put it in the lowest to highest. And when I skimmed through my collection, I think I've got over 300 titles that are under 5. So there we go. It wasn't really much of a hard task for me. I just had a lot to choose from. It probably says a lot about my film taste, obviously. And these two will be no exception. So what I've done, I've actually pulled 2, and this is going to be the close runner-up. And this is only going to be because I've only really seen it the once, maybe twice tops. And this just makes me like, it's that time period again. It's the early 2000s time period. It has got what I do complain about quite a lot, which is the really bad CGI. But this is kind of so bad, it's almost good. Like funny kind of CGI, looking back on it now. It's Tobe Hooper directed, which, you know, when you think of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Poltergeist. But when you watch Crocodile, it's just, you go and watch the trailer to this. If you've never seen the trailer, at least for Crocodile, Tobe Hooper's Crocodile, go look at the trailer, you'll understand what I mean. This is like classic, just early 2000s teens going out on a boat. They run into crocodiles. There's some practical effects in here, I think, from memory, which don't look too bad. There's some horrendous special effects of like that early 2000s when they were trying stuff out with like CGI animals and stuff, which, if you just want dumb fun, this is exactly what I enjoy watching. Just you know, turn your brain off kind of movie. But yeah, this is just fun for me. I don't know, I forget what this scores. This is like a horrendous score. I put the score up somewhere on the screen, but really low. But however, saying that, the lowest scored movie that I can honestly say is in my collection and I genuinely do enjoy, I think it gets like a 2.7 or something like that out of IMDb, is The Garbage Pail Kids. So I didn't really grow up with the Garbage Pail Kids. I didn't really know about them. This film was my first real introduction to them. This is a like UK, I think one of my only UK media books, they call them. So that's why it looks a bit weird. But yeah, got it in a sleeve there, protected sleeve. I'll crack it open, maybe put some shots over the top. But yeah, just these like little kind of like garbage pail creatures that kind of come out of this guy's shop and run havoc. I just love the low budgetness of it, and the fact that when they're like running around and like there's a part, I think there's a part where one of them's on a skateboard, and you can literally see the costume sleeve is riding up so high, and the kind of like creature puppet hands they've got on them. There's like a gap in between where you can see just the human wrist underneath, and they just went with it. It wasn't sort of taken out in the edit or like reshot or anything. It's like, oh well, it's, you know, no one will notice. But yeah, so bad. I love it. Garbage Pail Kids. I mean, I could have picked loads of these films, but that's probably the one I've got to go with the most because it's got the lowest score in my whole collection that I can say I really enjoy. There's other ones in my collection I think that have a lower score, but I don't know if I'd go back to it very much. This one I would go back to as many times as I like. Cool, so that is it. That is the 7 questions answered. Probably some slightly off answers in there to most people's videos, but hopefully that made it a bit more interesting. Thanks to Darren for doing the tag video out there. Obviously, again, it's an open tag. It's quite, you know, probably out of date by now. I'm probably about a month behind, but there we go. That's my answers there for you guys. So I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Cheers, guys. Bye.